600 years ago, China almost beat all the colonial powers. In the early 1400s, the treasure fleet had the greatest seagoing fleet in the world, 3,500 ships. The Chinese were routinely sailing to East Africa 100 years before the Portuguese and Columbus. The Chinese had trade deals set up with Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, all over Eastern Africa and the southern tip of Saudi Arabia. And even though they had superior firepower, they had a superior navy, they didn't conquer anybody. They didn't colonize. They just traded. And the entire Chinese fleet was led by a brilliant explorer named Zheng He. His goal was to set up trading posts and ports all along the Indian Ocean, and he was growing very successful at it. And he eventually wanted to do the same thing with the Pacific Ocean. And what's on the other side of the Pacific Ocean from China? Oh yes, the Americas. During the 11th and 12th century, the Song dynasty in China was the most powerful and wealthy empire in the world. Near the end of their reign, they accounted for 22.7% of the world's GDP. The Chinese were eventually able to gain their empire back, and that was called the Ming dynasty. All while that was happening, China was still growing in power and wealth. I did a very simple Google search. What was the most advanced country in 1400? The first entry came up China. And yes, you can't trust Google for everything, but that's something easily confirmed by a lot of history books. It was the Chinese who developed papermaking, printing, gunpowder, and the compass. The compass is especially important. It was Europe's usage of the Chinese compass that made them able to navigate the exploration and the exploitation of the New World. But what happened? If China was so much more advanced, and their admiral had their sights set on exploring more of the Pacific Ocean, why did they stop? Why did their economy not advance as quick as Europe's? Why did they end up eventually being easily defeated and exploited by the Western powers? By the late 1400s, the Chinese made the mistake of pursuing a policy of isolationism. Even though the Ming dynasty did conquer the Mongols, they were still a huge threat. They decided to scrap the treasure fleet and focus on controlling the newly reconquered lands. And even though I think it was wrong, I can understand the logic behind that thinking. Because the Mongol invasions destroyed most of Eurasia, China viewed itself as the most advanced society still standing. They had all of the resources and wealth that they wanted, so there was no reason to go out looking for more, and they probably did not want to find any foreign entities that were more powerful than them that could potentially cause them trouble or even subjugate them. And then what ended up happening? A continent of people that were considered primitive and barbaric by their neighbors ended up taking over. The powers of Europe were hungry for every resource and technology from the unknown world they can get in order to outcompete their neighbors. While China wanted nothing to do with what Europe had to offer, that wasn't the same for Europe. While China was focused on maintaining supremacy in their own little region and isolating, Europe just kept trading any ideas and goods it could with these guys, and even tried here a couple times. Then, due to a huge mistake made by the Ottomans, Europe started looking for other ways to get to Asia using technology they got from China. And then boom, the rest is history. Europe conquered pretty much the entire known world. And maybe that never would have happened if China was the one that got there first. Maybe things would even be more peaceful, more trade-oriented. We'll never know, because the Chinese chose isolationism. I'm the Geo Husar, and yes, this is a t-shirt of Mickey Mouse. Thanks for watching.